Doing?
Good.
Can you hear us okay?
I can hear y'all just fine.
Perfect.
Good.
All right.
Whew, got to work in
Awesome.
today.
When you're a middle-aged fat man and you don't bend down to tie your shoes, bad things can happen. I hurt my back a number of years ago. When I once had an athletic body, and I was in the Army. I hurt it in jump school. That was in 1979, and I didn't know it was broken until I was 40. I keep this in mind. So I hurt my back in jump school between junior and senior year. Came back from basic as an Army reservist, senior in high school, played football, wrestled, did track and field, pretty much on a broken back, not knowing any better. And then later, when I was a lot heavier, yes, I was heavier. The doc said, "Hey, did you know you had a broken back?" I said, "No." "Oh, well, it's a long time ago." Can you recall when?" I said, "Yeah, it's probably early July 1979." I first landed jumped out, hit my back on the side door of a C-130, and I tumbled coming out. So when you're my age, it's like if you're over 50 and 250 pounds, everything is deliberate. It's like Tai Chi. Enough about me. What's going on, and what has been going on is that there is a budget proviso that you guys drafted that's sitting somewhere in the Ways and Means Committee. I'll know next week if it's going to be put in the budget or not. I'm seeing Senator Palumbo next Tuesday, and I'm going to discuss that at that time. I thought today would just be better for you guys to do questions and answers, kind of to check in where we are and what else you guys like to do. And I'll turn running the class over to you guys and Mr. Dawson.
So we were wondering what exactly happened to the bill, because I mean we know we got pulled, but it seems like it was kind of in limbo of like not being passed but not being killed. So
It was the legislature does that. A lot of times the committee will put almost every bill up on the executive calendar and then at the last second decide they can't do it. In this case, what happened, there weren't enough votes to move the bill out of committee. The reason for that was the perceived cost of the bill. The fiscal note spoke to costs of upwards of $30 million to implement. Now, we tried to make the argument both at the committee level and me later that, you know what, school districts have to pay for garbage services anyway. We're just specifying a different way of managing the waste. And for whatever reason, that argument was far too complicated for the committee. And they decided, yeah, and I'm being cynical, they decided that it was easier not to move the bill. And I think that what really bothered members of the committee was the fact that you guys were so well prepared. But yeah, I mean, it would be one thing if you kind of went in, all your stuff on a restaurant napkin saying, "Well, we'd like to do this thing." No, we haven't thought it out. No, we don't know how much it's going to cost. No, we don't know anything. You guys came in, with PowerPoint and us and said, "This is what we're doing," and they felt bad. But in the scheme of things, you could also see that for whatever reason, they viewed it as a new program instead of a reprogramming of money. So I don't think the onus is on you. I think, frankly, the onus is on the committee for not paying attention. That's my personal.
So I have a quick question. So when I was watching the executive committee, they did two bills beforehand. And one of them, they immediately proposed an amendment. Like some of the people who were speaking were like, "Well, I would like to just propose an amendment that just changes this language." And then the Senate was like, "Oh, that'd be great." And then when they talked about it in the exec committee, that amendment was already there and offered to the bill, and then they passed that bill forward. So why was there never really that opportunity for us to then say, "Hey, we like your bill, but there's a couple amendments that you need to do. Get back with us by this time, or can we work with you on this right away?" Was that just something that they just didn't really want to do, or was it just like a time crunch on their like for when they needed to vote on it?
I would subscribe to the latter theory, that it was a timing issue. The one thing that really hurt us with our bill was the absence of Senator Mullet, because it was Senator Mullet who was the most interested, because he runs a restaurant chain, and he has to compost food in King County. why he was the one who was the most interested. But when he got sick and he was out for a couple of days, that window of opportunity to fix the bill went by the wayside. And the other problem, our prime sponsor not being in the committee is always a complicator, because if your prime sponsor isn't in the committee as a member, then you're scrambling around to make sure that you can hang an amendment. And if there was a mistake in that onus would frankly would lie on me for not reading the situation and moving faster. But since we didn't receive any significant opposition on the bill the committee or any strong questioning by committee members, I thought we were fine. And candidly, when the bill came up on the executive calendar, I was delighted. We would have been the first bill in over 10 years from TVW that actually moved out of a committee. So I think that is something I'm going to talk to Senator Palumbo about next week, and I'm going to talk to the new chair, Senator Zeiger, said, "I'm really sorry, but the fiscal note scares me, and that's why we're pulling it. So I don't have the votes to move the bill on." So that's kind of that's kind of the real life things that happen. They're moving. Let's see here. How many bills have they submitted this year? The House and Senate combined is just shy under 3,000 bills. So they get minutes of attention. I mean, the closest thing I could tell you is that, like an SAT exam. Yeah, it's like, you get what, a minute or so to consider a question, and then you have to make a decision. That's kind of what they're up to in the workspace. And for the most part, that's kind of the level. The place is spread out in such a way that members rely on other members to be more expert in subject matter than others. And in the case of the composting bill, the one guy who would have been our best champion would have been Senator Mullet, but he wasn't around, so it was a missed opportunity.
All right.
So are there any next steps we could take to help with anything moving forward, or do we just wait till we hear back?
We're doing that with the budget proviso. So that process is similar but different. The operating budget is a 200-page or so document, and there are bills that are called NTIB, necessary to implement budget. And what often happens is that when they construct the school budget and the operating budget, policy bills, for example, here's a good example. When marijuana became legal as a recreational substance consumed legally in the state of Washington, they had to attach to the budget the 4 policy bills that implemented marijuana after the passage of Initiative 502. And so you will find a budget will reference, in Gross Senate Substitute Bill 5108, House Bill 1604, et cetera. And that tells the budget writers and the agencies that here's the money to execute policy, and here's the policy bill that is the vehicle to execute. In the composting bill exercise, what we have to do basically is Senator Palumbo has to write and sponsor the budget proviso, and he has to give it to Senator Rolfus, who also supports the bill, by the way. And then that amendment is put before the Ways and Means Committee. Now, that's a pass-fail. All right, we basically get one more shot on goal, and that's to be hung onto the budget. And it's entirely possible the Republicans will look at the fiscal note. Republicans run the committee; they're the majority, so they may look at a $30 million fiscal note and say, "It's too expensive, we can't do it," and then that's end of game. Game is over. The question and the persuasion that I have to do with Senator Palumbo and Senator Rolfus is, look, that $30 million is not $30 million in new money. That $30 million represents how much it costs to implement, and you'll be doing that from your existing revenues. So that's how you get out of the wicket. Everybody who didn't have a bill clear committee and everybody that has a bill awaiting floor action is scrambling and doing this as I speak. Everybody wants to win, but there's only so many golden tickets, and so we're chasing a bunch of other people to be part of that. And that's kind of difficult because you guys have one compelling policy need, and you're competing with hundreds of other, in the eyes of the beholden, equally important policy needs. So that's whether it's more slots for nurses and nursing schools, or the medical school in Spokane from UW and Wazoo, or the Public Works Trust Board. Everybody has a dog that they want in the show, and now we have to fight to get into the show.
Okay. So I know that there was a version of our bill in the House. Do you know what happened to that one?
It did not even get a hearing. That was the Juanita High School composting bill, and Representative Santos, the chair of the committee, did not even hear the bill.
Oh, wow. Well.
So that just answers that question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The rare case where it doesn't suck to be you. You guys got a hearing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So did they look at the amendments that we offered on the original bill, or were they just going with the proviso that you sent out and you offered to us?
I have to discuss both. Okay. I have to find out where Palumbo is. My guess is it's going to be a budget proviso to study the proposal, because then they can write within existing funds. They don't have to. They can dispense with the fiscal note.
Okay.
All right. Is there anything cool happening in Olympia right now? I don't know.
That put my earpiece in so it's more secure. It was trying to make a run for it. So
No.
the thing that I'm working on for another client is hemp, and hemp is a member of the marijuana family, but it's more agricultural than entertainment marijuana. But needless to say, hemp is still a Schedule 1 product. Schedule 1 includes marijuana, heroin, and all the bad drugs your parents don't do those. That being said, though, you can grow hemp if you get a permit from the department from DEA, Drug Enforcement Agency. So right now, the State Department of Agriculture is negotiating with DEA to get their permit. And then people in the state of Washington who wanted to grow hemp, which includes the Colville and Yakima tribes and Eastern Washington growers of everything from Timothy hay to wheat, are looking at hemp. Why hemp, like alfalfa and wheat, is a multiple cut crop. That is to say, you cut the marijuana plants down that are using for hemp purposes, and they grow back. And then when the growing season is over, they're cover crops so that they can stay on the ground over the winter. They will hold the soil, prevent erosion. They will hold water on the soil, and then in the spring you can plow them under and then replant your next crop. So hemp is just like wheat or hay. It's a weed. It grows whether you want it to or not, and it's resilient to heat, weather, water, etc. Well, it's still the basis of marijuana, and it's still viewed as it was in the 1930s. So you have that going on. Well, there's a bill introduced by Representative Shea out of Spokane, House Bill 2064, that would take hemp off Schedule 1 and make it just a crop like wheat or hay. And it flew out of the House 98-zip and is in the Senate Judiciary Committee on Thursday. There's one little problem for my client. My client's negotiating for a federal permit. And so the 2 years of work they've done with the federal government to be permitted would go out the window. And there's real questions whether or not DEA would deny the permit, whether DEA would come into the state of Washington and enforce laws. And when I approached the prime sponsor, Representative Shea, and said, hey, my guys have problems with your bill. And he goes, your guys are overreacting. The feds are going to pass a hemp bill this year. Mitch McConnell sponsoring it. It's going to fly through. Trump's going to sign it. It's going to be fine. I don't know how many of you have been watching the news lately. Well, our president's been having trouble getting his office set up. And every day it seems like something else blows up on him. So, and all the guys that used to work for the Obama administration don't work there anymore. So there are hallways empty all over DC with empty desks and chairs waiting for President Trump's appointees to be slotted in those positions. And that includes all the policy guys at DEA. And also, by the way, hemp legislation in Congress has been in there for 14 years. None of them have ever cleared a committee. So even at the federal level, marijuana policy is all over the board. So you have that sort of, so when you have somebody who wants to fix a problem for a constituent in the face of federal law, it makes things complicated. It makes things complicated for those assuming they're going to get their way, and it's going to make things extra complicated by people working with the federal government to continue things as they are. So that's like my sexy thing of the week is dealing with that. And Thursday I'll find out if my, you know, it's really funny. A few of my colleagues think that playing, you know, even for the state of Washington, really getting to the face of the Trump administration, the DEA, is a bad idea. But on the other hand, you know, people want to grow hemp. It's an amazing agricultural product, has dozens of uses, and none of them are for consumption of marijuana to get high. So, you know, here we are in 2017. Hemp has been cultivated for thousands of years, and we're still trying to figure out if it's good or it's bad. That's one thing. The other sexy thing, frankly, is they're moving bills across. They have a deadline for getting bills out of the House and Senate floors by Wednesday, close of business, Wednesday at 5. And then on March 16th will be the state's revenue forecast for how much more money they'll have. And around March 20th, you'll see operating budgets and the initial movements on how to fund K-12 education, which is still unsettled. And the conventional wisdom is we will be here till the 4th of July trying to fix McCleary, because there's no connectivity between the Democrats and Republicans on this one. The Republicans believe we can fix it within current revenues. The Democrats believe it's a $6 billion problem, which needs $6 billion in new dollars now. And that's two pretty far away places to figure out how to come to the middle.
Mm-hmm.
When you said that, because I thought the Trump administration was talking about how they're re-looking at the states that legalized weed and whether they can actually do that. So would they be in favor of hemp legislation? Or was the whole idea of those legalized states just kind of Trump talking like Trump likes to talk?
That's kind of the $64 question, isn't it? I mean, with this president, he makes statements every day. And unlike the rest of us, he doesn't feel like he should have to be asked about previous statements and whether they, you know, whether they're operational or not. You know I said that last week. Like it's like if I said, I know I was dating you last week, but the gal in the back here, and then 2 weeks later, oh, that didn't happen. We're still dating, right? I mean, the president has in his communications has a strategy of talking about something that's right in the front of his mind and then moving on to the next thing. And so to answer your question, Mr. Dawson, marijuana at the federal level is still illegal. The Cole memorandum, you guys may have heard about in the news, was an internal that basically said, you guys do not make marijuana a high priority enforcement issue. And then that memo is not the force of law, it's advisory. Attorney General Sessions could say, the Cole memoranda is no longer operational policy. You will enforce the law as you see fit. So we have to wait and see if that's going to happen. Now, was that the end of your class?
Yeah, so we have the next class coming in. Do we want to just hang up this one and start afresh, or do you just want to kind of hold on?
I want to Dawson, let's watch everyone go goodbye.
Okay. All right, so they'll be coming in, so you can just hang up.
You're good.
Oh, wait. Mr. Dawson?
Yeah.
Go ahead and disconnect. It's easier on our end if you do that.
Okay, we'll do. See you in a little bit.
Bye, guys.